Script here with another video, and something I didn't even really think of, but this is a very true thing, and I just discovered this in this article here talking about Yoda. A lot of what I'm seeing with the OT characters is a lot of sacrificing their storylines on the altar of new content, basically. So they're really struggling to make new content without diminishing original OT character content and even prequel content to some degree. I just actually found out on Twitter today that the comic book where Darth Vader goes to Tatooine and he deals with some rival tribe. This is while Luke is a kid. He deals with some rival tribe of the Sand People, and then the Sand People hear about him killing them all or whatever, and then they like literally start worshiping an effigy of Vader. Like they make a big Burning Man of Vader. Like, Darth Vader should not have been on Tatooine. Neither should have Inquisitors. Nobody should have. It was a backwater planet, but Disney uses it constantly. They can't, somehow, for some reason, they can't write interesting stories without poaching from the OT, right? Like, they just can't do it. Oh, people will buy our comic book more if the Sand People are in it, and if we're on Tatooine, it's familiar. No, make a new planet. Do something else, right? But they can't. So then, and of course we saw that with the Kenobi show. It's just a disaster, and they just keep going back to Tatooine. So, in the spirit of that writing technique, where they poach what they can from the OT and diminish previously established stories and lore that George Lucas established. And again, I'm not some sycophant, George made his mistakes, but having Tatooine as this backwater outer rim planet that the Empire really didn't care much about until Vader was looking for R2 and C-3PO makes sense. And this is kind of related in a sense because Yoda, of course, Obi-Wan went to Tatooine to watch over Luke, and Yoda, of course, went to Dagobah. But this is actually really interesting. So basically it's talking about Force Vergences. So Yoda used Dagobah's Force Vergence to conceal himself from Palpatine. Okay, and I think that's taking it a little too far. We're getting into this Force Vergence stuff now, and can't things be kind of mysterious? Like, as a kid when I watched Luke in the cave, I wasn't thinking like, what is that? Explain to me why. I just thought of it as like this kind of crazy Force vision thing that Luke needed to have. I didn't need an answer, but whatever. They're going to do this Force convergence stuff. Force Vergence is the place or person where the Force is particularly strong. These vergences are nexuses of power. Some are aligned with the light and some are aligned with the dark. Because Force vergences are so powerful, they can be used to hide the signature of a Force user. Which I didn't think was necessary because, again, Dagobah, when you watch the movies, Dagobah just seemed like this really, really far away, crappy place that nobody would ever go to. It's just a gigantic swamp. So you're just like, yeah, of course Yoda could hide there. Who the heck is going to Dagobah? There's nothing there. But whatever. Force Vergences now. So that's how he hid himself. Yoda carefully built his hut near a mysterious dark side cave, which he eventually used to train Luke Skywalker, which again, we didn't need all this explanation. The light and dark side of the Force counterbalance one another. This is why Yoda was able to hide so well in Dagobah, since it was located on a powerful dark side Force Vergence, and Yoda is a light side user. He was able to hide himself from the likes of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. There would not even be an echo of his presence in the Force. My whole take on the whole, like, trying to find Yoda thing, why would they care? Like, why would they care? By the time Luke comes around, it's been 20 years, just about. Like, after that much time, and no appearances of Yoda, and no appearances of Jedi, why would they even care where Yoda is, if he is still alive in their minds? Like, I don't get that. Like, you're this gigantic empire. If Yoda all of a sudden presents himself and reveals himself and he's a threat, then you deal with him. You're the Empire. You don't have to like go searching around for this one little green guy in this entire galaxy when you've got like over 1 billion stormtroopers and thousands of ships and control over all the senators and control over everything. Oh no, Yoda, who I already just whooped his butt. It's so, like, Palpatine kicked the crap out of him in Revenge of the Sith, so why would he even care? These are the types of things I just don't understand. Like, they're giving us answers to questions we never had. We didn't care, right? So anyways, he's hiding because he's got a vergence in the Force, and whatever. There are many planets rich in the Force, but Dagobah's cave has always seemed unique. Young Jedi Adventures episode 23, however, sees a Jedi youngling in the High Republic era visit a surprisingly similar vergence on the planet Batuu. Even more surprisingly, though, this is accompanied by a lesson in the Force in which he is told that these cave vergences are quite common across the galaxy. Wait. So we're retconning with a new cartoon for 5-year-olds. What? Dagobah, it seems, is not quite so unique as had been previously thought. This makes Yoda's plan to hide from Palpatine look less impressive. Before Yoda appeared to be extra wise, he was able to sense Dago's power and use it to conceal himself. His ability to manipulate the Force to disguise his presence seemed to evidence his incredible skills after hundreds of years of Jedi training. Now, okay, so if you're willing to accept that, like if we accept that there was some vergence or whatever on Dagobah, which... fine, I didn't need an explanation, but let's say that's the case. Okay, so what we're saying now here is that him going to that planet and understanding what it was able to do to conceal him in the Force is actually no longer a big deal. He could have went to like 50 different planets, I guess. So Yoda's not really smart at all, and he didn't make a wise decision. He literally just went to a planet out of like a whole pile of planets that had this Force Virgins thing. So, ever since Star Wars revealed that there's so many Force Virgences in the galaxy, it doesn't seem as impressive. No, he could have just went anywhere. After all, if these Virgences are so common that pretty much any trained Force user could identify them, there's nothing special about Yoda's ability to locate one. And again, they just keep pooping on... for the sake of new content, we got to figure out a way to... So we got to have this 5-year-old kids show, and we can't think of writing a story without changing, lore, and now there's virginces everywhere, but even though that kind of makes Yoda's decision kind of moot, doesn't really matter what he did, we don't care, because we don't really care about the OT, we care about our new, whatever, characters. Or whatever. I just feel like they have a lot of people writing stories for Star Wars that don't really know a lot about Star Wars. Even if you say, like, you're a writer of whatever, fantasy or something like that, right? And they came to you and they said, can you write us some stories for this kid's show? It's going to take place in this time in the timeline, and this is the... And you go, okay, sure. And you're not even a Star Wars fan. Like, you don't care about Star Wars. Part of your job at that point is to... research stuff. And the pathetic thing is nowadays it's about as easy as it could ever be. You could literally go on Twitter, and if you have even a moderate following, you could type in, hey guys, what's the deal with these the Force Virgin stuff? And then somebody would come and say, oh, well, this is this and this and this. Like, you'd get a response very, very quickly, and one that you can verify very easily. It's called a search engine on your computer. But they can't even be bothered to do that. It's like the equivalent of a phone call, and they can't do it. They don't care. They just write these stories, collect their paycheck, and leave. And it's really declining Star Wars because it has become a place where just collect my paycheck and leave and say I was part of Star Wars. You have all these directors and actors constantly saying, oh, I want to do a Star Wars movie. Oh, I want to be in a Star Wars movie. Oh, it's nothing now. It's just, hey man, put me in Star Wars. You had Oscar Isaac when he was asked if he'd come back as Poe Dameron. He laughed and said, maybe if I need another house. Like, there's nothing sacred about it anymore. It's just a joke. Even Daisy Ridley has said that the sequels were divisive, but she's still going to come back for $12 million because that's all it is now. That's all it is now. It's just a place to make money. It's not creative and sacred and neat and cool anymore. And looking back, I have a lot of issues with the EU, but looking back now, they should have went 100% EU. They shouldn't even done anything else. Now, of course, Disney isn't going to do that because then they have to pay these authors and stuff royalties and blah, 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 blah. But looking back, like, even some of the issues I had with the EU, I mean, I didn't like Palpatine coming back in the EU, but you know what? The way he came back in the EU was way better than the dumbness of the sequels. I didn't like some of the stories and how powerful the Empire was in the EU at times, but at least it was executed pretty well, better than the garbage we got in the sequels where there's just a First Order out of nowhere. Anyway, so it's sad. So Palpatine's failure to find Yoda over the course of 2 decades is even stranger too. It makes no sense that he wouldn't have thought to send Darth Vader and his Inquisitors to scout Force Virgences around the galaxy. Well, exactly. If he cared about Yoda, which to me, why would he care? Like, Yoda's status as a Jedi Grand Master and one of the few who actually had the potential to beat Palpatine, he would realistically be using any leads he had to try and find Yoda. Yet there's no evidence the Emperor ever thought of investigating Force Virgences. I think this point is true in light of what they're saying. Like, if you're going to say these things are ever, he probably would have taken the time to go search them out. Not necessarily for Yoda, though. He would have just maybe done it anyway for anybody. Because let's face it, guys, like, Yoda was elderly. Palpatine knew that. Like, Yoda species, he was, like, that's about as old as you're going to live. So, I mean, I don't think he needed to go search for Yoda, some elderly Force user that he already beat the crap out of, when he's got his empire, like I said earlier. But I do see the problem here that, yeah, he probably should have like checked those areas, more thoroughly and even gone to them at all if they were all over the place. There may be a way for Star Wars to fix... Oh, see, now we're fixing another mess up. The easiest solution would be a further retcon. Only the most gifted Force user could successfully mask their presence at a Force Vergence. This would help make Yoda's trick impressive again, and it may even explain why the Inquisitors do not seem to have ever headed to Dagobah. They may well not have realized he could do it, or perhaps such a great presence as Yoda's could be concealed in the... Here's the thing. I always thought that the whole like Force sensing thing, there was a proximity, right? So they've changed that now. Disney's thrown out everything, right? All the rules are gone, right? But when you watch the original movie, so Luke and Leia connect, but Leia and Lando were still in Bespin atmosphere. Like, they weren't, like, gone halfway across space. Like, they were still fairly close by. And the same thing with, of course, Vader and Obi-Wan in Episode 4. He's literally in the Death Star, so Vader is feeling his presence in the Death Star. I don't understand why, like, if Yoda's on Dagobah and they don't actually go to Dagobah, they don't go into the Dagobah atmosphere, why would he need a Vergence anyway? So this whole thing is just, like, layering crap on top of crap. And I almost think they do it on purpose just to create more content, because like this article says, now you can do a further retcon. So then they'll write another story that retcons it more and more and more. That's all they seem to know how to do, is just keep retconning everything to create content, because they're not actually writing good stories anymore. You guys let me know in the comment section, is this just another like taking a dump on an OT character with Yoda, just making him lesser than? What do you think of this article? Do you think this whole Vergence thing was even necessary? Or could we just have left things mysterious and accepted that they just didn't find Yoda because he was on a crappy old planet that was a swamp? Or they just didn't find Luke because he was on a crappy backwater planet that the Empire didn't really care about because it's Tatooine. It's a giant desert. I just let me know, guys, what you think. This whole thing is so silly to me. It's just like a constant trail of retcons to create content that hopefully people buy so that they can make their money. That's honestly what it's come down to. There's no art involved at all. And hey, George was into the money too, don't get me wrong, but they've taken it to the extreme. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, or sub to the channel, and feel free to check out anything else on my channel as well, and have a really good day.